Namaste and welcome to Pioneers of Storytelling. Today I have with me the renowned editor, writer, director who was also the first trained female technician in Bollywood. She's a gold medalist from FTII and a proud recipient of 5 national awards. She's an inspiration to many as a filmmaker whose films portray reality and who had the courage to talk about sexual liberation and gender equality when it could have shocked the majority. Besides, she is a woman who stands by what she believes in. But I believe that just like timely opportunities and a vital support system are important, setbacks and challenges also contribute in making a person. So today, my quest is to know a little more about Aruna Raje, whose smile has lived many real stories. Hello from Brussels, and thank you so much for coming to my show.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Today, with every question, I'm going to bring in a phase or stage that you have lived, and you are going to relive those moments as they were back then. So it's a quest to know the real Aruna Raje. Are you okay with that?
Of course, yes. And the phase of my life, which was a very important phase of my life, actually, one was before I joined FTI, when I was in medical college. And when I joined FTI, those were very important times when, my future got really decided, so to say. I was a medical student. And you could imagine those days we used to actually cut dead bodies. So the first thing, you get up in the morning, you go to class, and class is like you enter a big hall with lots of tables and dead bodies laid out on them, and you have to dissect them. I couldn't take it. I couldn't stand it at all. So there were 2 subjects, anatomy and physiology. And I did very well. I was a topper. That's how I got into medical college on merit. And then physiology, I did very well. But anatomy, I actually failed. And that was like a very important turning point, because then I think everybody realized that, especially my mother, that she's not happy. That's not what she wants. So that's when my mother took me out of the Grand Medical College and put me in the Film Institute.
Yeah, in fact, even my husband, who's an MD from Grand Medical College, was quite surprised कि आपने Grand Medical College छोड़ के FTI join किया.
That's right.
I mean, they're 2 different fields.
That's right.
Okay.
And anyway, when I went to the Film Institute, initially it was for acting, because I used to get a lot of offers to act those days. So we went, but they gave me such a horrible piece to do in an audition. I mean, this was anyway out of turn. It was not the regular kind of admission in any case. So even when I went, they gave me that piece. It was so, I said, what is this piece of and I messed it up. And but when they talked to me, they said, this girl is bright, like they must have thought, and she must do something else. And they suggested something else for me. They said, why don't you join some other course? And I said, next is, of course, direction. But then I needed to be a graduate. Mm-hmm. So then they said, we'll give you a double diploma in 4 years instead of the regular 5 years, and do editing direction. And I didn't even know what editing was. I said, editing, I don't know what it is. I'm not interested. I went back. And they kept calling me, and finally, condescendingly, I came back, end of first term, just 1 month before it ended. And I said, okay, I'll join editing. And then I discovered a whole world there.
You know, every FTII graduate that I have interacted with, especially from the 60s and 70s batch, believe that the time that they spent at FTII was the most enriching experience. So how was life for you there, being the only female in a technical course?
It was wonderful, because in the medical college and all, I was used to, attention. But this was like there were only about 3 girls in the acting course or something like that, and no girls at all. So obviously, I had a lot of boys chasing me and being after me, but it was not like stalking or eve teasing. None of that was there. It was so decent because, and of course, a family friend had actually introduced us to the institute and brought us there. Vikas's uncle. Vikas is my ex-husband. So, and he was in the direction class, in the senior direction class. And he would tell me every week, now this wicket is going to fall. Because every week, one boy or the other would come and declare his love for me. And there was a lot of songs and shairi and love letters and crying. And I would say, no, I don't want to do this. Not for me, not for me. And I broke so many hearts over there.
Yeah, but they never thought कि ये बेचारी है तो इसको ज़्यादा help कर दें.
I was not a vichari, and the boys were so crazy. They would want to carry my books. Sure, I can carry my own books. I was a tomboy. Besides, I could cycle and I could do whatever. But they wanted to carry my books and help me and sit next to me and little things. It was just so charming and fun. And you won't believe it. No one knows about this much, I think. But I used to carry a flick knife, and khachak karke khulta tha wo. For years, I was carrying that flick knife just to make sure that I'm okay. Nobody could mess with me. But the thing is, I never got to use it. Not that I wanted to use it, but.
Okay. My first boss was Jaya Bachchan when I was doing my internship at the Children's Film Society. And I remember you sharing with me a lot of fun moments that you had with her at FTII.
That's right. And we were very fond of each other. And she used to come and sit in the editing room with me when I was editing, and she'd wind my reels for me. Those days you had to physically wind, or there was an electric winder. Otherwise, you have to actually wind the film. It came in big rolls. People don't understand what it means for actually celluloid, rolls of film. And she would do this and just next to me. And so often, even when she first came to Mumbai, she stayed with us. And her first film, in fact, Vasant Desai was the music director, and Rishida and all, we were all like very kind of close family in that sense. Everyone was so closely related, Gulzar and Rishida and Uncle. So we knew these people also. And that when her first entry happened, it just had to happen like that.
Was Shak your first film as a director?
A feature film, yes. First feature film as a director, that's right.
I think it's brilliant in terms of writing and direction and succeeds in keeping the suspense till the end.
Yes, we worked a lot on it. One of the things we learned in the institute was Nabendu Ghosh. He was our real guru in teaching us screenwriting, both of us, And one person, in the industry, there is this habit of pailago, everybody is falling at everybody's feet. I mean, it's not even, they don't even, but real respect to hai nahi, aise dikhate hain, pailago type of thing. And what happened was, with Nabendu Ghosh, we sincerely touched his feet in reverence because he really taught us. He was a guru, big time guru, Nabendu Ghosh.
Bolo, जवाब दो मीना। इसका मतलब है तुम्हें इस खत पे यकीन है?
नहीं विनोद।
तो फिर तुमने मुझसे पूछा क्यों?
विनोद मेरा हाथ।
But when we were doing Shak earlier, the problem is whenever I was on location or something, men basically don't like to take orders from women. And that was so evident in the studios and everywhere I went. People would say, ladki hai, laboratory mein dekh raha hai, what is this? I'm not an animal in a zoo, I'm just a girl, and this was a problem. But I had to work, I don't know how many thousand times more hard than Vikas to establish that I knew my job. But once they came to know I knew my job, then it was okay, I was one of them. But it took some time. And then the worst of it was, after when Shak was being released, we had a press conference. And in the press conference, one of the journalists asked me, do you expect us to believe that Vinod Khanna, the star, listened to a chit of a girl like you? That was disgusting, actually.
What I like about your films is that they're all very realistic. Lifelike sets, natural acting, and dialogues are always of a common man. And more than that, there's a story in every film, and it is that story that keeps us glued till the end. One brilliant example is your film Sitam.
तुमने उसे मार डाला। एक मामूली गोल के लिए तुमने मेरे सुभाष की जान ले ली। क्यों? तुमने मेरी जिंदगी का सत्यानाश किया? क्यों तुमने मेरे सुभाष को मार डाला?
I like to tell stories, basically. And the thing is, if your characters are realistic, then they can be more engaging because people can see themselves in the characters. And that makes it more watchable and more real. Like, for example, even Gehrai. Why was it so scary for people? Was because it was realistic. If we had done some weird things with weird creatures and, and all kind of weird ghosts and all that happening, then people would have taken it, a little at a distance. But this was so real. It could happen in your home. It could happen to you. So that was how it was. And that made it more scary for people. So whatever emotion, whether it was love or whether it was fear or whether it was revenge or anything, any issue, if it being realistic, it would allow people to connect more.
I also see that despite the best of actors like Naseeruddin Shah and Vinod Khanna playing the lead roles, your films tend to belong to the female protagonist.
That is true. Somehow, I feel not enough, first of all, not enough films are made about women, where women are the main characters, because they don't get to have their say, they don't get to express themselves. That was one thing I was always drawn towards showing, in stories. But at the same time, the men in my film are very different, and people have all, sometimes accused me also. तुम्हारे फिल्म में मर्दों को इतना अच्छा कैसे दिखाया तुमने? Take a Vinod Khanna or take a Girish Kulkarni. I said, but I do know men are not all bad and wicked and cold. I mean, personally, though I'm supposed to be a feminist, I believe in equality. I believe that men and women need each other and better find a new equation rather than say all men are so and so and the women are whatever.
तुम मर्दानगी का मतलब जानते हो? तुम समझते हो मर्दानगी का मतलब है मारना पीटना? सच्चा मर्द शंकर भगवान की तरह होता है, जो अमृत के साथ विष भी पी जाता है और खड़ा रहता है.
You have gone through a terrible phase in life when everything was going wrong for you. You lost your daughter to bone cancer and then your divorce, which led to depression and an attempt to suicide.
Yes, that's right. I didn't succeed. You see, what happened was life was very good for us after Shak. We were biz kids, and then the husband and wife both making films. And we had 2 children, a girl and a boy. Life couldn't be better. Everything was perfect. And then when my daughter was 9 years old, she got cancer. And we did everything under the sun to take care of her, to make her get well. We took her to Memorial Sloan Kettering Hospital in New York, did everything possible. At that time, my husband got involved with a friend of mine. Yeah, and what happened was my daughter dies. The very next morning, he wakes me up and says, I want a divorce. I was just devastated. I thought it was a bad dream. I was trying to say, I was like, shake it off. And he just held me and said, listen, I'm telling you something. I want a divorce. So that was such a shock because within 24 hours, the timing was so bad. I was just so broken, I can't tell you. And I just didn't know what to do. I used to worry for my little boy. But even so, I took that chance and I said, enough is enough. And I tried to, and it didn't work. So I went to a psychiatrist friend and I said, I can't live, I can't die. I'm a super flop. What shall I do? And he would listen to me crying because that 1 year I had not cried much because my daughter would otherwise catch me crying. So I couldn't even show that I've been crying. It had to be very, very quiet when she's asleep, to cry. So anyway, and of course he gave me some medication and all that. That time I used to cheat because I didn't want to get addicted to that medication. Somehow looking at my little son, I said, I have to survive. I have to be okay. I said no to the divorce. And it took a long time for the divorce to happen because there was still, the pressure built up so much. So finally, one day I said yes. And one of the first things I did was go and buy a Steinbeck. Buy meaning I had to get a bank loan, I had to import it from Germany and set up my editing studio. And the second thing was making my film Rihai. These were the 2 things I said. I have to have a backup, I have to have my editing studio, and I have to make another film. And I did it.
And it didn't end there. Your best friend Smita Patil also said goodbye to you.
That's right. She was actually the heroine of Rihai. I had written it with her in mind and we had planned how it's going to happen. She wanted to do direction. She said, I'm going to assist you in Rihai as well as act. And I said, but what about little boy, the little baby? She said, no, we'll manage. And we had decided how we are going to manage and how she's going to learn and how she's going to act, all of that. And then suddenly everything collapsed, after Pratik's birth. So then I was not in a frame of mind to do anything actually. Nothing. I was completely... In fact, Smita's mother said, Aruna, what are you going to do now? You lost your Gagi all over again. It was, it was so one after the other. And then other friends said to me, are you crazy? You've got a sanction, NFDC 10 lakhs. And are you going to throw it away? It will lapse. You better get on, kick somebody else and make the film at least. That was another wake-up call.
Yeah, but interestingly, you and Smita Patil were very close to each other, but she was the other woman in her story and you were the wife in yours. So could you relate to each other?
But Smita, it was very different. You know, we were like soulmates. Now, but the thing was, the funny part of it was even Ma would not understand. She said, "What's wrong?" Now, Smita is like the other woman, and you're like the wife who's been abandoned. So you're playing two different roles. I mean, actually, it was like that, two sides of the same coin. And yet we could understand each other's world. And that was what was beautiful, you know, because we could support each other to whatever came. And one got a bigger life view of that.
Your film Sitam must have been closest to your heart as it features your son and your daughter.
Yes, in one sense it is. In one sense it is. But in one sense, I felt very disconnected because my producer messed up with the reels. You know, he brought the first half, second, and second half. And I would have done it for him happily, being an editor myself. I was the editor of the film. And without telling us, he just changed the reel numbers. And so it's a bit odd. The storytelling is not that effective as it could have been. But otherwise, yes, especially that shot where, you know, my daughter is waving and the family is going off to Bombay. Smita, Nasir, and the little boy are going off and she's waving. And that visual remains in my mind. Was she telling us that, you know, saying bye to us?
You had always been co-directing films with your husband Vikas Desai. And then you come up with your solo film Rehai with you as a writer, editor and director.
At that time, the divorce was going on, so it was quite tough. It was very tough. Making Rehai was not easy at all. I don't know what I had taken on. And today, if I had to take something on, I wouldn't know what to do. But those days, I just had to do it. I mean, you know, I wanted to do it. I had to do it. And people were very cooperative, very helpful. I had such a lovely team of people. At the end of it, you know, when I needed to get my first print from Chennai, Madras then, there was no money, and Vinod generously gave me money and said, payable when able. I said, I can't take money from you. He said, payable when able. So actually, he brought me money and gave me money for the first print. And they took peanuts, both of them, compared to what they were charging other people.
Interestingly, in Rehai, it is not just Hema Malini who played a different kind of role. We also see Reema Lagu playing a character which is completely in contrast with her image.
Yeah, her most seductive self. You know, the way she's, there's one scene which I cannot get beyond, like think of it. You know, the way she's talking to Nasiruddin Shah and she's telling him beyond the hill, there is this beautiful location. And she actually seduces him with her eyes. I mean, you know, they all enjoyed, we all had a ball actually, you know. Neena Gupta was playing something else. Reema was playing something. Pallavi Joshi was playing something else. And there were lots of women in the film who were, you know, it's quite good fun. It was. Ela was there. Ela played against something else altogether. So, you know, it was a lovely bunch of women. We all had good fun. But one of the funny things about Rehai, I don't know if you know that, you know, normally when the unit goes outdoors, the men, it's mostly men and women, you know, just actresses and hairdressers, and mostly there are no women. And what the men do is go around the place, look at where you get cigarettes, where you get liquor, and where you can get women. Yeah, this is what they do. So there's a long schedule. But in this case, of course, liquor could not be got. It was Gujarat. We were shooting in Gujarat. I said, look, I'm not going to be responsible. There is a ban. Now, if you get it at your own risk. I said that, but I was keeping an eye on them, making sure they didn't get into trouble, because then the shooting would stop. The other part was like whatever they were doing, but there were so many women, there were hardly any male actors or whatever. There were not that many men. So one of the actors, one of the women said to me, you know, there are no interesting men here. What are we supposed to do? This was actually Rehai happening. I said, oh boy, I've got it right this time. I've got this subject right. You know, I said, it's only 10 days. What am I supposed to do? But she said, your cameraman, he only looks at the camera. He's very benign. He doesn't do anything with us. Okay, that's one gone, one down. Then just take your 3 male assistants. You keep them so busy, they don't have time to talk to us. Forget about anything else. So again, another gone. So who was there? Like, you know, Mohan Agashe came and went. He was there for a longer time comparatively. Nasir came and Vinod came and went. So that was all. There were no interesting men as such. So I said, this tells me a real story. Women need men as much as men need women.
तो सारी फीमेल्स कमी नहीं थी फिल्म के अंदर भी और फिल्म के बाहर भी.
And all my friends were so angry, all my male friends were so upset. तुमने हमको ये शूटिंग में नहीं लेके गई. So I said, क्या तुमको क्या करना था उधर? Get serious, man. Like, but it was a big joke those days. Everybody would say that. Where is this village? Give us the address of this village.
Your film Rihai is a very bold film, and it's not just the theme, it's also the visuals. So did you never fear that it would get banned या public मोर्चा लेके आ जाएगी आपके घर?
सब लोग मुझे डरा रहे थे, यार तेरे घर पे मोर्चा आएगा सर के. So I was like alert, but no moर्चा came. But what was interesting was women were not allowed to go to the theatre in Lucknow and Bhopal. But it was very hot on the video circuit. That fellow used to say कि अरे आपका कोई लुकता ही नहीं है, वो तो all the time कितने copies बाहर जा रहे हैं वीडियो में. Lot of women were seeing. But I had a strange experience in Delhi. You know, I would go, I mean, even all my other films, I'd always go and watch the film in the theatre many times at the point where I would feel it's critical for me to know how the audience is reacting. Like I would always go at the end of Gehrai, where the climax happens, and also go to the end of Rihai, when the Panchayat meeting is there. And I was actually sitting there. I'd already booked. I thought, let me see Delhi mein aur Gar. We were just sitting there in the theatre, and I sat downstairs in the stall, not upstairs in the balcony, along with lot of men, all kinds of men. And when the Panchayat scene was happening, every time a woman spoke, they were clapping. And I said, what's wrong with these fellows? Why are they clapping? The dialogues are all anti-men in that part. And I said, why are they clapping? And I got very confused. I said, ye kyun taali baja raha hai? Then I realized in the darkness of the theatre, you know, you're voiceless, faceless. You're just relating to the screen and the characters on the screen. And you want to root for the underdog as a human being. You'll root for the underdog. And women were the underdog. The men were cheering them and clapping for them. So that was an amazing insight I got about cinema. You know, that if you create a character like that, people can, you know, actually connect to that.
Tell me, did you ever feel the pressure of a male-dominated society or a casting couch?
Casting couch, not personally, but I had a lot of unwanted attention, you know, as a director also, or as an actor. You know, people to try to take advantage. I had those Me Too moments, definitely. But I used to I learned how to handle that and get away in good time. Actually get away in one piece, safe. And I had to use different things for it. You know, I don't know. I haven't named, I wrote this book, Freedom, and that I mentioned some of the stuff, but I haven't named any names, and I don't want to name any names. There's no pointless, because a lot of the industry was like that. Any woman who was single was available, and they would go after her. All kinds of people would go after you. But you have to learn to survive if you want to really survive. And you couldn't talk about it either. So let's get on with it. But it was difficult. It was very difficult. But I would have made many more films if this issue was not there. If I had not walked away in many circles, I would probably have made another 8-10 films, I guess. But I preferred to, you know, be with my principles rather than. It's a choice. See, those who compromise, I have no problem. It's their choice. If they're doing it by choice, I have no problem. But if you're being coerced into it, pressurized into it for work, then I think it's not fair.
Editing plays a crucial role in emotionally connecting us to the story and the characters. And all your films succeed in doing that. But this is one film that stands out, which is Shekhar Kapoor's Masoom.
Stage is an actor's medium, that's what everyone says. And film is a director's medium. Yeah. But for the director's medium to be that, I think the strongest. So apart, you've shot a lot of stuff, but the one who actually creates performances is the editor. Any actor's performance is created by the editor to the split, you know, to the fraction of, to 1/24th of a second precision. One frame, when we have fights in the editing room, to keep or not to keep, is what, 1/24th of a second. And that 1/24th of a second may add something to that actor's performance or take away. Now, there are many takes, for example. What do you do if I find one line from this take is better, then I connect this line, then I intercut it, take another part from another take. So what am I doing? What I'm doing is actually putting the best parts of the actor together.
आप मेरी मम्मी को जानते थे?
हाँ बेटा,
जानता ना?
और पापा को?
नहीं, पापा को नहीं।
मम्मी कहती थी कि मेरे पापा मुझे जरूर मिल जाएंगे। अब तो मम्मी भी नहीं है, पापा आएंगे भी तो मुझे ढूंढेंगे कैसे?
As far as Masoom is concerned, before Shekhar went for a shoot, we had gone through some short division and all of that with him. And we were also, he used to, Gulzar had written the script. So every time it bounced back and said, this is how we're developing it. And Vikas and I would have a little bit of whatever we wanted to tell him, ki, ye dekho, ya ye thoda sa gadbad hai, ya. And we had good material. So he brought back good material, which allowed us to, actually do what I wanted to do, and I could do that. And the other thing was, Shekhar would ask a lot of questions. He said, either ye yahan cut karega to kya hoga? By which time we also had tape splicer. We could cut without losing a frame. I said, look, main dikhati hu tere ko. And I would actually cut and show. He said, yes, that one, it made sense.
I had really enjoyed your recent Marathi film Firebrand. But tell me, as a writer, what is the thought behind that last scene between Usha Jadhav and Sachin Khedekar?
I must start a little bit before the last scene. She feels she cannot make him happy. She's been working with whatever the psychotherapist has told her. She's already working on that angle about all that mirror work and all that stuff she's doing. And she loses the case. For the first time, she's lost the case. The husband has gone away, because she wanted to put distance and they wanted to think through whether to be together or not, because she didn't want him to sacrifice. She wanted, if she can't provide, then let's move on and be friends or something like that. And when she comes back to the house after losing the case, she's like at zero. She's got nothing. I mean, she's completely washed out, drained, doesn't know what her life is going to be like. It's a loser, completely lost everything for her. And at that time, this man comes, this other guy, and he's very grateful to her. And, certain advertising types, even in the film we have, people are very free with each other. They're not like about touch and things like this. He says, agar aapka ye dukh raha hai, to main theek kar deta hu. It's like that. Thoda sari he's very grateful. He wants to help her. Now, his character is a womanizer, but she's not his type at all. So all he's trying to do is to help her out of his gratitude. But this woman, after having done all the work on herself and letting that conversation go, completing that past, somewhere her body starts to respond to his touch. And now, the thing is, my thinking was, she was never 15. She lost at 15 or 14 or whatever her first experience of sexuality. Whatever, it was dead for her. After that, it was complete bad news for her. So, for the first time, she finds something and she wants to find out, what does it mean? What am I feeling? And then she goes all the way with him. And that is why she does not feel guilty at all. She's found herself. Now, it's possible the husband may leave her after that. But she will be okay with that. At least she found herself. And for her, as a woman, to find herself was very important. And that's why there is no guilt, and she's a different person next day. And then they're very good friends. And she has the courage to tell him. And she doesn't realize that it might hurt him a little more than she thought. But she has to tell him, being an honest woman. Even in Rihai, that woman was honest. She told her husband, see, I believe in honesty. And my characters end up being honest.
Yeah, but with Rihai, it's a different story because the husband was also enjoying his life. But in Firebrand, the husband is a very sweet, caring kind of a person.
But he knows. He said it's not going to be the same for us. He said relationships are very intricate and very entangled. It's not going to be exactly where we left off. He tells her that things change. And she says, can we find a new equation between us? Apan Shodu ya Akasha, can we search? Can we try it out? Because she knows it's possible at some point he may leave, but her life is set. And his life, he has to find another thing. Life happens. People love each other. They may not always be together. But if they can find that equation in future, that is the open thing where they love each other so much, they will try to make it work. And he says, come to Spain with me. She says, yeah, of course I'm coming to Spain with you.
There's another film of yours that I had really liked, and that is Bhairavi. Be it Ashwini Bhave or Sridhar's acting, your direction, or Amit Khanna's lyrics, it all stands out.
I was a little afraid of making that film. Afraid, why? Because without, would I be able to do justice to a blind girl, a blind character? Well, I had no clue of the world of the blind, really. And when they offered me the film, they said, we already have a story. It was Kamna Chandra's story. And I said, let me think about it, give me 2 or 3 days. And I said, I don't know, will I be able to handle it? So what I did was actually I tied my eyes and walked around the house for 3 days, bumping into things, trying to understand, and became aware of sound. The sound is very important. And then I said yes at one point, and then I went and did a lot of research. Now, one interesting thing about Bhairavi, I don't know if you remember the title sequence at all. What we did was the titles are simple, on black, with just the colored titles. But what I did, we didn't have a background music. I had a effects sequence where I said I want people to be aware and feel the sound rather than just listen. So what we did was I got this very special guy. He was called Paddy. He's from the Institute. And he said, Paddy, I want you to do this for me. He said, what is it? I said, I want to have this sequence because it was about rain and things like that. So he created first, it's a peacock's calling. The peacocks are there. Then there's thunder. And then he's used different levels of rain, from heavy rain to small pitter patter, And what happens, I found that in the air-conditioned theater, when you're listening to that, in 1 minute, you almost feel wet. The sound is so powerful. The way the sound is, of the rain and all, you start almost feeling wet. And I thought that was very powerful. This is the power of sound. What can sound do? Bhairavi, the songs were so brilliant, and Lakshmikant Pyarelal did such a fabulous job, even the background music. But unfortunately, it's very sad that the music didn't pick up for whatever reasons. Whether it was Savariya or the temple song, Om Namah Shivaya, that is such a fabulous song.
Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya.
And Varun is the cameraman. He shot the whole film so beautifully. Everybody said this is painting with light. And Ashwini is so good, and and the father is so good. And so the lyrics, rightly so, he got the national award.
Also, women empowerment. And from what I know you, the Mangal Sutra Visarjan scene in the end had the Aruna Rajesh stamp.
Yes, and people said, are you sure you want to do it? Why are you doing it? I said, it has to be, this is a blind girl. It's not like, she must be thinking at a different level. Otherwise, I said, let me do something different. And for her, that's been very real when her mother's ashes have been immersed and they're gone. It's goodbye. Okay, finished, over, completion. So, because she lives by the river, she knows the river, she goes in those coracles. For her, it's very natural, like a sense of completion, to put it in the river and say it's over.
I'll end with, how does it feel to be a recipient of 5 national awards?
Kuch nahi, nothing. Only the first 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Kuch nahi. You won't believe it. If I show you my house, they're not displayed anywhere. They're in the cupboard. So it doesn't matter. I have got some statuettes also. But those statuettes are collecting dust in some corner in the house or somewhere there, because I don't know where to keep them. I have to keep them on some shelf or wherever they're staying. But they're kind of like, who even dusts them except the maid? If she does, she does. She doesn't, she doesn't. Who cares about them? They're just there. But for me, I don't know, right from the beginning, I always wanted people responses or people's acknowledgement as compared to awards. So I think somewhere, when somebody says, because people are still saying Firebrand and giving me feedback. So it's nice. Like the other day, one of my students, I did this course for FTI. One of the students said, I want to say something. And he said that Firebrand was so well written, and he went on and on and on. बस उतने मेरे को ज्यादा खुशी मिली देन इफ आई हैड गॉटन समथिंग फॉर इट. So like that.
It was wonderful chatting with you.
Thank you. It was lovely chatting with you actually.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.